In the dim, echoing corridors of a federal prison, where the air hangs heavy with the weight of regret and the faint scent of institutional regret, Sean Diddy Combs, once the undisputed kingpin of hip-hop's glittering empire, found himself ensnared in a scandal as mundane as it was telling. The man who built Bad Boy Records into a cultural juggernaut, launching the careers of Notorious B.I.G., Mary J. Blige and Usher, and who partied with presidents and pop stars alike, was now reduced to the clandestine rituals of inmate ingenuity. Reports swirled like whispers in the yard that Diddy had been caught red-handed, nursing a forbidden elixir concocted not in some high-end distillery but in the shadowed corners of cell blocks, by hands calloused from years of confinement. This illicit potion, a testament to the human spirit's unyielding drive for escape, was no ordinary contraband. It was a rudimentary hooch, born of desperation and dorm room chemistry, a bubbling mixture of Fanta soda, granulated sugar pilfered from commissary packs, and chunks of apple scavenged from meal trays. Fermented for a full 2 weeks in some hidden vessel, perhaps a plastic jug wrapped in bedsheets to muffle the telltale hiss of carbonation turning alcoholic, the brew emerged as a fizzy amber nectar with a kick that could rival cheap moonshine. Inmates, those unsung alchemists of the penal system, have long mastered such crafts, transforming the mundane into the intoxicating. But for Diddy, sipping from this forbidden cup wasn't just a momentary lapse. It was a crack in the facade he had so carefully constructed for the outside world. Picture the scene: the Federal Correctional Institution at Fort Dix, New Jersey, a sprawling complex of concrete and chain link that houses thousands of souls serving out their sentences far from the neon haze of Manhattan nightlife. Diddy had only just been transferred there, his arrival marked by the shuffle of shackles and the indifferent gaze of guards. It was in this new environment, still raw with the shock of adjustment, that a vigilant prison official stumbled upon the transgression. There he was, the 56-year-old mogul, his signature swagger subdued by orange jumpsuits, furtively raising the vessel to his lips. The official's eyes narrowed, the moment frozen in bureaucratic eternity, a sip that betrayed not just rules but promises. The immediate aftermath was swift and procedural. Diddy was slated for relocation to a more restrictive unit, a solitary echo chamber designed to curb such indulgences and reinforce the ironclad hierarchy of prison life. Yet, in a twist that hinted at the labyrinthine politics of incarceration, the order was rescinded almost as quickly as it was issued. Whispers among the staff suggested internal debates, perhaps leniency for a high-profile inmate, or simply the overload of administrative red tape. When pressed, a prison spokesperson offered the classic stonewall: no comment, no confirmation, just the void of no information about the incident. In the absence of official acknowledgement, the story festered, fed by leaks and speculation, painting Diddy not as a victim of circumstance but as a man clinging to old habits in the face of unyielding reality. This episode lands like a gut punch against the backdrop of Diddy's courtroom soliloquy, a narrative he spun with the precision of a seasoned performer. In legal filings, he had proclaimed a profound transformation, a phoenix-like rebirth from the ashes of his former self. Sober for the first time in 25 years, he declared, his words dripping with the fervor of redemption. He spoke of a spiritual reset, a pilgrimage inward that demanded time and hard work. Pride swelled in his prose as he touted his unprecedented diligence. "I'm working harder than I ever have before. I'm committed to the journey of remaining a drug-free, nonviolent, and peaceful person." It was a script tailor-made for sympathy, a bid to humanize the tycoon accused of orchestrating a web of exploitation and excess. Judges and juries, weary of celebrity sob stories, might have seen through the gloss, but for a moment, it rang with authenticity. A man atoning, evolving, untethered from the demons that once fueled his empire. Yet, here in the stark fluorescence of prison lights, that narrative crumbles under the weight of a single illicit drink. The hooch, innocuous in its ingredients, becomes a symbol of hypocrisy, a fizzy indictment of unresolved cravings. How does one reconcile the vow of sobriety with the furtive gulp of fermented fruit? It's a question that echoes through the annals of fallen icons, from Robert Downey Jr.'s battles with addiction to the tragic spirals of Amy Winehouse. Diddy's case, however, is laced with the unique venom of his charges: racketeering, sex trafficking, and a litany of abuses that painted him not as a flawed artist but as a predator cloaked in charisma. His September 2024 arrest had ripped the veil, exposing a labyrinth of allegations from former associates and victims alike. The trial, a media circus of depositions and damning evidence, culminated in partial conviction, guilty on 3 of 5 counts, a sentence of 4 years behind bars, and a $500,000 fine that barely dented his 9-figure fortune. Delve deeper into Diddy's world, and the prison slip feels less like an anomaly and more like a thread in a tapestry of indulgence. Bad Boy Records wasn't just a label, it was a lifestyle, a vortex of parties where champagne flowed like rivers and boundaries dissolved in the haze of celebrity. Diddy's infamous white parties in the Hamptons drew A-listers like moths to flame, Jay-Z, Beyoncé, Leonardo DiCaprio, all under the guise of summer escapism. But beneath the glamour lurked darker currents. Whispers of coercion, of power imbalances that turned revelry into reckoning. His relationships, from the volatile romance with Cassie Ventura to mentorships that bordered on manipulation, fueled a narrative of control. The 2016 elevator footage of him assaulting Cassie was a flashpoint, a viral scar that predated the federal probe but foreshadowed its depth. Incarceration, for all its brutality, strips away the armor of wealth and influence. At Fort Dix, Diddy isn't the mogul with private jets and Michelin-starred chefs. He's inmate number whatever, navigating mess halls and rec yards where respect is earned through vigilance, not bank accounts. The hooch incident underscores this leveling, even kings brew in secrecy. Psychologists might frame it as a coping mechanism, a psychological tether to the life left behind. Addiction recovery literature abounds with such relapses, the pink cloud of early sobriety giving way to the grind of reality. Diddy's claim of a 25-year dry spell, if true, marks an epic battle, one waged in the shadows of superstardom. But the fermented Fanta suggests the war rages on, a reminder that transformation is not linear but a jagged path of stumbles and surges.